And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, and it's great to have everybody here on this Wednesday, December 13th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today, but before I get into that, I just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. And that really helps the show and makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, the link is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So let's get right into what we are going to talk about today. So starting off the show, we're actually going to talk about some recent news that came out. So it appears that Bill Belichick and the Patriots, the New England Patriots, will be parting ways at the end of the 2023 season. So we'll get into that to start off the show. I know that's a topic that has been discussed quite a few times. The speculation on, is he going to come back? Is he going to go to another team? Well, it seems like we know he's at least not going to come back after this season, which it appears. So that is what we'll get into in a second. Then in the second part of the show, we'll go over the power rankings that were released this week. So I'll go over that. I'll give you my thoughts on that, how the teams are ranked. There definitely has been a change. I haven't looked at them yet, but there's definitely been a change based off of what has happened over the last couple of weeks. And then in the third part of the show, we'll get into the Heisman Award and the MVP odds. We'll talk about Jaden Daniels of LSU winning it. So we'll get into that in the third part of the show. And then in the final part of the show, we will get into the updated NFL draft order. So I'll go over that, where teams are in the top 10, and that'll be the show for today. So with that being said, let's get right into the first topic, which is getting into the fact that the Patriots and Bill Belichick are going to part ways. So the story came out by NBC Sports, Tom Curran, NBC Sports Boston's Tom Curran. He came out and said that it appears that the Patriots and Belichick are going to part ways at the end of the season. This decision was made after the Patriots lost to the Colts on November 12th in Germany. But they obviously didn't let go of Belichick at the time. They're going to let him, ride it out for the rest of the season. And that was a topic that I talked about leading up to that game, I'm pretty sure, is because there was speculation out there that maybe the Patriots, depending on what happens in that game, that's going to dictate, the decision that they make on Belichick. Now, there was stuff out there that they would just fire Belichick right there after the game, which I didn't think would happen. But it seems like, the decision was made after the game because they lost that game. What was it? Wasn't it? What was it? 10-7? No, it was. I think actually the score was lower than that. So they made that decision after that game, and that was, Mac Jones had a terrible game. He threw that horrible pick at the end. 10-6 was the final score of the game. Zappe played in the game. Both quarterbacks had 2 picks. That was just an ugly game for them. And that's ultimately how they made their decision. And obviously, Belichick is still one of the greatest, if not the greatest head coach of all time. There's no question about that. You can have debates on it. But if he's not the greatest, he is one of the greatest. He's had a lot of success in this league for a long time, taking over as the head coach of the Patriots. And obviously, with how Tom Brady succeeded without him, his legacy has taken a hit, and how his teams have performed the last couple of seasons without Brady as the quarterback. And this is something I've talked about a lot too, is also the talent. They haven't really, they've hit on some guys, of course, in drafts, but they've also flopped on a lot of picks. N'Keal Harry, you take him over DK Metcalf. The signings in free agency, stuff really hasn't panned out. And, that falls on the head coach because he does have a lot of power. He's also the general manager. And, his teams have really underperformed last couple of seasons. However, the defense still has been a solid unit. The defense is still good, but the offense is it's a disaster. They did pick up a win against the Steelers last Thursday, but again, it's the Steelers. That's a team you own. Um, you know, so we'll see what happens where he ends up. They did make the playoffs, obviously, in 2021, but that was when they, got absolutely run off the field by the Bills in that game. The Bills, I think they didn't punt in that game. So, other than that, it's been regression. They finished 8-9 last year, and they're 3-10 this year. The first year was during COVID. They went 7-9 with Cam Newton as the quarterback and Jared Stidham. But it's gonna be different next year if this is the case, with Belichick and the Patriots parting ways. And let's see where he goes, because there's going to be some openings. There were rumors out there with Washington. The Chargers, you would expect them to have an opening at the head coaching position because, Brandon Staley is not going to make it. Also, quick news on that. The Chargers, Justin Herbert, so he's officially out for the rest of the season with the broken index finger. So we're going to be seeing Easton Stick and Aiden O'Connell tomorrow night. So just another great Thursday night game to look forward to. But yeah, you figure that is probably the most enticing destination. Because I feel like he's going to want to continue to coach. Is he going to want to go out like this? Because listen, you go to the Chargers and you can rebuild that defense because that's the weakness of the team. To pair up with, you get somebody, you keep Kellen Moore on to, work with the offense, unless they want to go in a different direction. I don't know. Unless they want to make Kellen Moore the head coach. I don't know. But, you bring in Belichick to work on the defense. Kellen Moore focuses on the offense. Chargers could definitely turn it around next year and be a better unit, especially on defense. But, you got Justin Herbert, who, when he's healthy, he is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And that offense is very explosive, got a ton of weapons. They got killed by a lot of injuries this year, but including Herbert himself. But I feel like that would be a great destination for him. And how loaded up would that division be in terms of head coaches? Belichick, Andy Reid, and Sean Payton. And yes, in the beginning of the year, we were kind of questioning Sean Payton, but now the Broncos have turned it around. So, now he's back on, being a good head coach. Because we kind of questioned it for a little bit. But yeah, that would be insane having those three in the same division, and then you just have the Raiders who, who knows what they're going to do. But, again, that's just speculation. But it just seems like Patriots and Belichick are ending their marriage, essentially. And, they're going to go in a different direction. And it's going to be kind of strange. It's going to be strange. Because that was one of the constants in the NFL. Is, Belichick and Brady with the Patriots. And then Brady left. And now it seems like Belichick's on his way out too. And we'll just have to wait and see, where he ends up. If he does continue to coach, does he take a year off? He could do whatever he wants. Because he's Bill Belichick and he's earned the right to do so. But, for me, I think he's going to want to, redeem himself and go somewhere else and, find success, somewhere else. And there's a few destinations. There's going to be a lot of head coaching positions that are going to need to be filled. So we'll see where he ends up. But, it's just not going to be in New England, which is a place that he's won a lot of championships. And, the fan base, I think, is, it's amazing how they've turned on him. They've had enough. So that they're going to be looking for, a new head coach. They're going to want somebody new, get an offensive guy, because that's where the league is going. Offensive head coaches. So, that's probably what the Patriots are going to do. They're probably going to have to try to maybe bring in like an actual GM because that offense is going to need some work. I mean, what happens? I mean, listen, Belichick could leave and the defense could fall off, but we'll see. Only time will tell. But it's going to be different next year in New England. Once again, no more Brady, and no more Belichick. So, but let me know what you guys think. Does Belichick, call it quits? Does he take a year off? Does he continue to coach? I mean, I'm going to lean towards he's going to continue to coach just because I feel like he's not going to want to go out like this, like I've said. But, again, he could do whatever he wants. Again, he's earned the right to do so. I think for Patriot fans, you should look at more of the good as opposed to the bad. Because, this wasn't going to last forever. Eventually, Brady was going to retire. Well, instead he left and then retired. And Belichick was going to call it quits at some point. Or, this was, I think you never really thought about it ending the way it's going to, with the Patriots just being one of the worst teams in the NFL and them parting ways. You just kind of expected, like, Belichick was going to retire on a high note and, go off into the sunset. But that's not what, it can still happen, but just not with the Patriots. It wasn't going to last forever. They weren't going to win Super Bowls until, we were all going to be gray and old. It's going to happen. And that's what's happened here. So, we'll see what Belichick decides to do at the end of the season. He did say, I actually forgot to mention this too, because reporters were asking him this, and he just said, we're on to Kansas City, or we're getting ready for Kansas City, something along the lines of that. Obviously, one of his famous lines was, we're on to Cincinnati, and what ended up happening, Patriots, after that debacle in Kansas City in 2014, the Patriots then went on to just, have a great season and get to the Super Bowl and win it. I was hoping that year, as many other people were, that on the other side in the NFC, when Aaron Rodgers said RELAX, relax, I thought we were going to see those two clash in the Super Bowl, but unfortunately, that was not the case. But we did at least get to see them play in the regular season that year, which was probably one of the best games that I've ever watched, honestly. Just because it was both of them in their primes. If not, well, Brady was in his prime for. Maybe Brady was starting to. I can't say he was starting to move out of his prime. But because that was the beginning of the second half of the dynasty. Then they went on to win 3 Super Bowls. So yeah, they were they were both still in their prime. Well, Rodgers especially was still in his prime. They played a clean game. It was, again, one of the best games I ever watched. So, but yeah, so let me know what you guys think. Once again, what you think Belichick's going to decide to do. After this season. Maybe all this is just speculation, and all of a sudden Belichick is coming back. But it seems like they're parting ways. So with that, we're going to take our first break of the show, and then when we come back, we're going to discuss the power rankings that were released this week, and I'll give you my thoughts on that when we come back from our first break. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.